There is a particular frequency of feminine power that simply refuses to shrink itself in order to be loved. It's an anchoring, an unshakable center, a quiet sovereignty that doesn't audition for attention, doesn't campaign for approval, and will never trade its own perception just to keep the peace. What actually separates a woman who is rooted in this kind of power from a woman who only hopes to look powerful? The answer isn't found in what she gives. It's found in what she absolutely will not allow. Over the next few minutes, we're not just running through a list of rules or pretty affirmations. We're unlocking 5 portals, 5 deep, sacred boundaries of self-reclamation. These are not commandments. They are mirrors. They'll reflect back to you exactly where you may have unconsciously set your crown down. And they'll remind you of something your soul has never forgotten. Your dignity is not up for negotiation. Carl Jung called the journey to becoming who you truly are individuation. And for a woman, that journey often begins as an unbecoming, a peeling away of generations of self-sacrifice, subtle obedience, and coded self-abandonment. It's the moment you realize that love, real love, never demands your disappearance, never demands your smallness, never demands your self-erasure. What you're about to hear might feel uncomfortable. It may bump against layers of conditioning so old you started mistaking them for your own personality. But right there, in that tension, in that discomfort, is where you take your first step back toward your inner throne. Because make no mistake, this journey of unbecoming is a countercultural act. Society rests on the compliance of women. We're praised for being accommodating, flexible, selfless, endlessly understanding. That conditioning isn't just in our minds, it's in our media, our families, our workplaces. To choose your own individuation is to walk upstream. It is a quiet rebellion, and it requires the courage to be misunderstood by the people who benefit from your smallness. So let's begin. The first truth of queen energy is perhaps the hardest one to face. A queen will never auction her perception in order to keep a false peace. Think about how many times you felt that tightness in your throat, the moment every cell in your body wanted to say, no, that's not right. And yet you swallowed it. You blurred your boundaries. You gaslit your own intuition. You silenced your voice so that everything would look calm on the surface. That kind of false harmony is one of the most dangerous forms of self-betrayal. Jung warned about the distorted mother archetype, the version of the feminine that becomes a compulsive peacemaker, the emotional hostage negotiator in her own relationships. She believes it's her duty to manage everyone's feelings, smooth every wrinkle, create comfort for everyone except herself. This pattern isn't new. It's ancient. Entire generations of women were taught their truth was dangerous, their voice too loud, their needs too demanding, their perception too sharp. So they learned to shrink, to doubt themselves, to make their desires tiny, to minimize their pain, to become experts at betraying themselves so that others could remain comfortable. But here's the paradox. Every time you swallow your truth to avoid losing someone, you lose yourself instead. Your mind may rationalize it, but your body never lies. Your nervous system keeps the score. That knot in your throat, unspoken truth, the tension in your shoulders, boundaries you never voiced. The chronic exhaustion, the cost of performing a version of yourself that isn't real. A queen understands her body as a compass. When she silences herself to maintain peace, she's not avoiding conflict. She's creating a war inside her own nervous system. Reclaiming her voice becomes not just an emotional shift, but a physical necessity. And this is where true intimacy begins, not in self-erasure, but in authenticity. A queen does not ask for permission to exist. She doesn't over-explain her boundaries. She doesn't apologize for her own reality. When she speaks from her center. When she is silent, it is a sovereign choice, not a prison built from fear. Feel the difference between a silence born of terror and a silence born of power. Feel the difference between words that beg for agreement and words that stand on their own, simply because they are true. The question has never been, do you have the right to speak your truth? The question is, why did you ever believe you needed permission in the first place? That belief is inherited, not original. A queen knows the difference between her own truth and the truths that were installed in her. She audits her inner world. She sorts what belongs to her from what belongs to the women who came before her. And in doing so, she sets herself free. This is the heart of depth psychology, collective patterns passed down through generations. These patterns live in your reflexes, your fears, your emotional triggers. A queen begins to see them with clarity. She asks, is this fear mine? Or does it belong to my mother, my grandmother, and the women before them who were never allowed to speak? That question alone is liberation. And now we move into the second principle of queen energy, one that reaches into the deepest wounds and expectations placed on women. A queen refuses to be the unpaid emotional tutor for a grown man. You probably know this dynamic. You've lived it. You find yourself explaining why his behavior was hurtful. You break down emotions that he should already understand. You name patterns he refuses to see. You translate his own feelings for him. You interpret his reactions. You explain him to himself. And eventually you make excuses for him to others. Without realizing it, you stop being his partner and start being his emotional mother. Jung warned about this blurring of archetypes. The moment a woman begins carrying a man's emotional development for him, it creates a toxic dynamic where she infantilizes him, and he becomes dependent on her emotional labor. This pattern often emerges from a deeply unconscious savior complex, the belief that your love, your patience, your nurturing can transform an unformed man into a better one. But Jung's work is clear. Individuation is a solitary path. No one can walk it for someone else. A queen knows this in her bones. When she sees an emotionally immature man, she doesn't ask, how can I fix him? She asks, do I want to be with someone who is exactly as he is right now? Support is one thing. Emotional labor is another. And a queen does not spend her life teaching a man lessons he refuses to learn. Think for a moment about the hours you've spent explaining his own emotions to him. The nights you stayed awake replaying conversations, crafting careful sentences, preparing emotional lessons he should have already known. Think of the energy you've poured into trying to sculpt potential into maturity, hoping your effort could become his evolution. That energy was never free. It was taken from your own life force. And a queen guards her life force with precision. She supports a man who is already supporting himself. She stands beside someone who is actively doing the work of growing, not someone who expects her to drag him along his own path. She refuses to be the translator, the therapist, the emotional manager for a man who refuses to manage his own inner world. A queen knows that if she is thinking, feeling, processing, and evolving for both people, the relationship isn't growing. She's simply carrying the weight of two people alone. And no sovereign woman carries a kingdom on her back for someone who won't even lift a stone. This brings us to the third revelation, one that reaches into the deepest shadows of the collective feminine psyche. A queen does not audition for a role that is already hers. She never competes for attention or performs for worthiness. There is an ancient wound that lives inside the female soul, a wound of invisibility. Generations of women were taught that their existence had to be justified through beauty, through service, through submission, through constant performance. This wound creates an inner hunger, a desperation, a quiet fear that whispers you, if I am not chosen, I am not valuable. Jung called this the shadow, the parts of ourselves we split off, deny, or hide. And one of the most painful shadows for many women is their hidden longing for male validation. It disguises itself as desire, as connection, even as love. But underneath, it's a void, a space created by the absence of self-worth, projected outward in hopes someone else will fill it. If you've ever caught yourself playing the pick-me game, posting a picture just to see if he notices, shrinking yourself so you don't outshine him, or subtly competing with other women for attention. You've placed your crown at someone else's feet. If you've ever dimmed your voice, softened your edges, quieted your brilliance so his ego stays intact, or performed a more acceptable version of yourself so he might finally choose you, then somewhere along the line you forgot who you are. A queen never enters a competition for love. She does not contort herself to be noticed. She does not barter authenticity for belonging. Because the moment you try to prove you are worthy of love, you've already accepted the lie that your worth was ever in question. A queen rejects that premise entirely. She exists in her fullness, not out of arrogance, not out of aloofness, but simply from presence. She shines not to attract attention, but because shining is her nature. She occupies space without apology. She radiates without effort. She validates herself first, last, and always. This shift from external validation to internal validation is the great alchemy of queenhood. She stops asking, "Do they see me?" and instead affirms, "I see myself." She becomes her own witness, her own champion, her own source of approval, and when you become the primary wellspring of your own worth, the attention of others becomes a gift, not a necessity. The love of others becomes nourishment, not survival. This is where real confidence is born, not from being chosen, but from choosing yourself. Now we enter the fourth truth, one that silently erodes the foundations of countless relationships. A queen refuses to be the sole emotional architect, janitor, and caretaker of the connection. Most women know this dynamic intimately. One person feels for two, thinks for two, plans for two, remembers for two, initiates for two. The other person is simply present, but not participating. This is not partnership. This is emotional labor dressed up as love. In Jungian terms, this is an unintegrated projection. The man outsourcing his entire emotional life onto the woman, assuming she will manage it for both of them. And because women are conditioned to be the emotionally intelligent ones, society praises them for carrying everything while letting men remain emotionally underdeveloped. But emotional intelligence is not a feminine trait. It is a human responsibility. A queen sees through this myth instantly. She refuses to accept a dynamic where she is the only one tending to the relationship. In real partnership, reciprocity is not optional. It's foundational. Both people nurture the bond. Both people sense when something is off. Both people initiate closeness. Both people show up with effort. A queen pays attention. Who is nourishing the connection with me? Who remembers what matters to me? Who initiates conversations about growth? Who meets me emotionally, not with excuses, but with presence? And when she sees she is the only one building while the other only consumes, she knows exactly what that means. It means she is carrying the weight of two hearts while only one is beating toward her. Many women cling to these imbalanced relationships thinking it is love, thinking that devotion means over-functioning, thinking that endurance is loyalty. But love does not systematically exhaust one person. Love is a river flowing in both directions. If one person is always pouring and the other is always collecting, that is not a river, it is a drain. A queen stays where energy is exchanged, not extracted. And now, we step into the fifth and perhaps most profound truth. A queen will never stay in a room that requires her to become a smaller, edited, muted, or more convenient version of herself. Jung described individuation as the journey toward becoming your full, unfiltered self. A queen understands that staying in a relationship that demands her fragmentation is not loyalty. It's soul abandonment. It's a betrayal of her purpose. It's the slow death of her becoming. Here is the heartbreak. Many women mistake endurance for love. They mistake self-erasure for devotion. They stay because they fear loneliness more than they fear losing themselves. But they don't realize they are already alone. A queen does not make grand exits. She doesn't need drama or speeches. She simply feels when a space has become too small, too dim, too limiting for her growth, and she leaves. Not from anger, not from vengeance, but from dignity. She does not offer an edited version of herself. She is all or nothing, and she knows conscious solitude is far more nourishing than companionship that requires her self-annihilation. Solitude is her sanctuary. It is where she recalibrates, where she hears her own voice again, where she remembers who she is without the distortion of someone else's expectations. She chooses wholeness, even if it means walking alone. Perhaps right now you're wondering, am I a queen? And the answer is far simpler and far more profound than you think. You are not a queen because someone crowned you. You are not a queen because you perform a certain role or follow certain rules or project a particular image. You become the queen the moment you stop doing the things a queen would never do. You become the queen when you stop trading your truth for peace, when you stop mothering adult men, when you stop auditioning for your own worth, when you stop carrying the emotional weight of two people alone, when you stop staying in rooms that demand your smallness. Queen energy isn't something you acquire. It's something you remember. It's what you were before the world trained you to shrink, before you learned to doubt yourself, before you were conditioned to earn what was already yours. Your inner throne has always been there. You just forgot where you placed it, and every boundary you set with dignity is a step back toward that throne. Every truth you speak without trembling is a reclamation of your sovereignty. Every time you walk away from a space that does not honor you, you crown yourself anew, Jung said. Individuation is not about becoming something different. It's about becoming what you already are at your core. For a woman, this often means shedding centuries of conditioning. The idea that your worth is in your service, that you must be pleasing to be loved, that your needs are inconvenient, that being too much is a flaw, or that love is proven through self-sacrifice. A queen individuates by sorting truth from conditioning. She discerns what is hers and what was inherited. She releases the narratives that were placed upon her. She returns to her essence, unmasked, unedited, whole. But this return is not easy. It requires immense courage. It demands that you examine relationships that feel comfortable but suffocating. It asks you to break patterns that have lived in your bloodline for generations. It requires you to face your fear of abandonment, your fear of loneliness, your fear of being too big or too intense or too powerful. But on the other side of all that fear, something sacred is waiting. You, your full, unvarnished, unfragmented self. A queen does not fear solitude because she understands a truth most women are never taught. To belong to no one but yourself is not a punishment. It is freedom. She chooses relationships where her integrity is honored, not negotiated. She doesn't stay because she's afraid of being alone. She stays because the connection nourishes her, mirrors her truth, and supports her growth. This does not mean a queen never doubts herself, never feels fear, never wavers. Queen energy is not a performance of perfection. It is the art of returning to yourself again and again. True strength is not the absence of vulnerability. True strength is the ability to be vulnerable without betraying yourself. A queen can show her wounds without surrendering her dignity. She can ask for support without giving up her sovereignty. She can love deeply without losing herself in the process. This is her alchemy. She turns pain into wisdom, wounds into clarity, disappointment into discernment, and you may not realize it yet, but you have already lived moments of your own queendom. Moments when you spoke a truth that shook you. Moments when you walked away even though staying felt easier. Moments when you refused to shrink one more time. Moments when you chose yourself quietly, privately, powerfully. These moments are not gone. They are evidence. They are reminders. They are breadcrumbs leading you back to your throne. So the real question is not, can I be a queen? The real question is, will I choose to be? Will you stop negotiating your truth? Will you stop mothering grown men? Will you stop fighting for your own visibility? Will you require reciprocity instead of carrying everything alone? Will you walk away from the rooms that dim your light? Each time you answer yes, you crown yourself again. And remember, sovereignty is not a single moment. It is a daily practice, 1,000 tiny choices, a tender discipline of returning to your center. You will have days when you fall into old patterns, days when people-pleasing resurfaces, days when self-doubt whispers louder than your intuition. A queen does not shame herself for these moments. She notices, she breathes, and she gently rises back into alignment, not with force, not with punishment, but with compassion. The goal is not perfection, the goal is awareness. A queen is not a woman who never loses her throne. A queen is a woman who knows how to rise back onto it with softness instead of self-judgment. And here is the final, most liberating truth of all. You don't have to be healed to begin. You don't have to be fearless. You don't have to wait until all your wounds are closed. You don't have to wait until you feel powerful. You can begin right now with one boundary, one honest statement, one courageous no, one dignified step back, one moment of choosing yourself. Queen energy is not built through grand transformations. It is forged in 1,000 small acts of self-respect. So what if today you treated yourself like a queen, not with crowns or roles or aesthetic performances, but by asking yourself, in every situation, what would a woman who honors her dignity choose? What would a woman who protects her energy say? What would a woman who loves herself do right now? These questions are your compass. They lead you back to your sovereignty. They guide you home to your throne. And if this message stirred something in you, if it awakened a memory of who you were before you were asked to be small, then stay close. Subscribe for more conversations about the feminine psyche, relationship dynamics, Jungian insight, and the quiet but unstoppable rise of the inner queen. And in the comments, share which of these 5 sacred boundaries resonated the most for you. Where do you see yourself reclaiming your crown? Where have you already begun? Your voice matters. Your truth matters. And sometimes speaking it is what makes it real. I read every comment, and I am here to witness your unfolding. Together, let's walk this path back to our inner sovereignty. Your throne is waiting.